what first got you or inspired you into the field of astronomy, math and astronomy? Like, what was there one moment? Was there a collection of events? What? Yeah, that's the question.
If you go all the way back to when I was about 9 years old, grade 3, my grade 3 teacher wrote in the report that went home to my parents that Paul had a great knowledge of the planets in our solar system.
Wow.
That's the earliest moment that I can recall a passion for astronomy. Why it manifested itself in grade 3, don't remember. But from that point forward, there was never any doubt in my mind that I wanted to be an astronomer. Now, this worried my parents a lot because they didn't know anybody who was an astronomer. They were terribly worried that he wasn't going to get a job. I mean, who employs an astronomer and so on, of course. And my parents were not scientists in any way, shape, or form, so they had no idea about the progress from elementary school to high school and beyond if this guy, their son, wanted to be an astronomer. So I think it was both an exciting revelation from their point of view, as well as great trepidation. But from my point of view, there was never any doubt. From that day forward, I consumed everything I could about astronomy. I started reading science fiction because, of course, I was learning to read at that point in time, and science fiction seemed a really natural outlet. There were lots of people who were running around space. That's what I like looking at. So there was no aha moment, but from, as I say, age 9, there has never been any doubt about what I wanted to do as a profession, both as an amateur and as a professional.
Wow.
And in high school, did the math and the physics, like all of the concepts, they came easily to you?
I wouldn't say it came easily to me, but I enjoyed it. And if you enjoy it, and you put in the time, invariably success follows. So yes, the math and the chemistry and the physics, I took them all the way through high school, from the moment I arrived at high school right through to the end, and that's what I graduated with from high school. As I say, I don't think coming easily to me. I'm just not naturally gifted in that regard, but because I enjoyed doing it, I never had an issue putting in the time to hone the skill. And as a consequence, my math, my physics, my chemistry worked out pretty well. And I carried that into the university environment. But no, I wouldn't say it came easily, but I really did enjoy it. And that's perhaps one of the takeaway messages for whatever discipline people are going to engage in. If you like doing something, it's not work. And it then, generally speaking, results in, well, we're talking about grades here, successful grades, good grades, and that opens up opportunities, choice for you with respect to your future endeavors.
So
a lot of people
sorry. Yeah, so I was just saying, so when you came into university, did you, so I guess because you already knew since age 9, but when you came into university, did you ever, I don't know, like explore different subjects and were like, hey, that's kind of interesting, or did you always simply stick to the astronomy mindset that you were comfortable with?
Very good question. I mean, back then when I entered university, because we're talking 1974 here, gentlemen, even then there are breadth requirements for a university degree to give students the opportunity to explore areas outside of their comfort zone, if you will, to make sure that the decision they're making about their future academic pathway is in fact the correct one. So I took geology when I came into university, along with the math and the physics and the chemistry. I knew I wanted to be a scientist. I wasn't about to become a poet. I wasn't about to become a stage dancer or anything like that. So it was going to be science. Math, physics, chemistry, but I took geology. And I always thought during that year with geology that, I could really get into geology and archaeology instead of astronomy. I didn't go that pathway because I just wasn't as good at it, to be perfectly blunt, but it was something that really did excite me. I did look around a little bit. I wanted to be in science. Biology never turned me on. So biology, zoology, those sorts of things, I just wasn't that type of a scientist. So it had to be in the physical sciences. I thought astronomy was where I wanted to be. I was pretty sure, but I did take geology and I really did enjoy my chemistry. I took chemistry through second year, in fact, because I enjoyed my chemistry. But the love of astronomy certainly won out, which is what I was expecting. But breadth requirements at a university, really, really important. Don't just slough them off, because you never know what door they may open. And in my case, as I say, geology and archaeology was a door that I nearly reached out to, but I didn't.
In a sense, geology is kind of a subset of astronomy because you're studying a planet. So that's kind of funny.
Quite correct. And let's face it, when we go to the moon, when we go to Mars, when we go to any of the other bodies in our solar system, geology is an essential ingredient. So you're
definitely.
right. It wasn't a big stretch to think about geology and archaeology compared to straight out astronomy. That's right.
Yeah. And I just had a comment from what you said earlier about, when you like what you're doing, it's not work. And a lot of people they ask me about my courses, and I tell them, oh, I'm doing astrophysics. They're like, oh, aren't your courses like super difficult, like quantum physics, calculus? I'm like, yeah, it's difficult, but it's not hard for me to do the work. The work is hard, but it's easy for me to just, and then get lost in all of the interesting concepts that are coming to me.
Yeah, I think like that's where passion comes in, right? Like your passion kind of substitutes for any difficulty, because a lot of times, like when there's a really difficult problem, you're like, oh no, like I can't wrap my head around it. But if you're really passionate about the subject, like if you really enjoy it, then you'll simply keep working on that question because you like to work on that question, not because you have to or not because you need to, but because you like to. And I think that's what's more important.
That's absolutely correct. And so, when you're a student doing studies at senior high school, in university, or indeed graduate school, there's a lot of time, effort, and energy that is required to become good at whatever it is that you're studying. Don't be afraid to spend the time. Sometimes you look at your friends and you go, gosh, they got the answer far quicker than I did. They only had to spend an hour or two studying for, fill in the gap, a midterm test or an assignment. I had to spend 3 or 4 hours. Doesn't matter. If you're spending the time to be successful and you're enjoying it, the time commitment is just, there. It's not a big issue. Don't worry about the fact that it takes you more time than your friend to get to a certain point. Tortoise and the hare type stuff, right? You'll always get to the finish line. Doesn't matter how rapidly. What matters is getting there and the quality result once you get there.
Wow, that's the most inspirational words to any aspiring university student right there. Wow.